talk some more about the quantity of NFTs, so the quantity of black passes as well as silver passes, and then we're also going to wrap things up talking a little bit about pricing. So all of that said, let's just go ahead and jump in. So for starters, when we really got going on this project, one of the things that was really important to us is making sure that there is if anything, a surplus of events. So we want our holders to be able to have utility on a regular basis. I think what we saw early days in the space when it came to utility were things along the lines of, one winner gets a trip to Dubai, 10,000 kind of unique NFTs and only a handful of winners, or some of the other utility passes out there where you have to own quite a few of them in order to actually unlock the things that you would want to do. So we really want to lean into over-delivering on that front by locking in a ton of events. And at these venues that we're talking to, there's a great opportunity to do that. So for those of you who don't know, in basketball and in hockey, usually there's around 41 home games a season. You get close to 81 home games for baseball, 10 for the NFL. In addition to all of that, you have tons of concerts that are coming through these top venues. So there's really a high volume and a lot of opportunities to be able to attend these and to be able to attend them in a way that not many people have been able to before. So with those courtside seats, with those seats on the glass, sitting in a premium all-inclusive box, those are a lot of fun, and it's definitely a great way to take in a sporting event or a concert, as well as to make some genuine connections. I think one of the coolest things that we've been able to do over the last couple of weeks is get out there and meet some of the people who are really interested in this membership, who have been supporting this for a long time. And whether you're a Bored Ape, whether you're a Doodle, whether you're anything, Psychedelics Anonymous, whatever your PFP is, getting together physically at these spaces around something that's unified, like a love for a sport or love for an artist, can really help forge connections really across those different networks, and it creates something really special because at our core, all of us are in this space together, and we all have that in common. So lots of tickets, lots of opportunities to do that. That is absolutely critical to our mission. And another reason why is because of how expensive it is typically for an average person to go to these games. So we've done a ton of research, pulling in data from a lot of the secondary markets, especially around these 7 target launch cities. And what we've come to realize is the average ticket, if you wanted to go to a game, say next week, you're looking at paying around 2.5 to 3 times the average ticket price. So what you can get that ticket for if you were a season ticket holder and we're buying that direct from the franchise or from the venue, typically marked up 2.5 to 3 times. So that $100 ticket's now $250 or $300. You go ahead and you're buying 4 of those, and you're looking at a pretty substantial investment. So that was one of those core issues that we saw in the space, and we really felt that there was a creative way for Web3 and for NFTs specifically to go ahead and to build something special, to go ahead and solve for that pain. And so that's really one of those core things that we're looking to set out to do. The way that we're going about doing all of that is through forging these relationships at the venue level. And I think that that's really important because at the venue level means that you get connections beyond just whoever it is that's playing there that night. I'll give you an example with Crypto.com. We're going to be out there next week working with their strategic accounts team, discussing different suite options, different season ticket options that they have available. There's a 7-year wait list to get season tickets for the Los Angeles Lakers. But when you work at the venue level, working with the Crypto.com team, who's owned by AEG, it gives you access to the Lakers, yes, for all of their games, but also for the Clippers, also for the LA Kings, and also for every single concert that comes through that venue. Not to mention the connections that they have at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Red Rocks in Denver, Coachella Valley. All of those are owned by the same parent company. So by making those executive level connections, it really helps to open a lot more doors than just getting seats to see one team. For us, that's super important because we're looking at this project as a long-term membership. We want this to last a lifetime. We're building this with longevity in mind. And so being able to tap into those strategic connections is a really important piece of it. Just to keep going through this list, I'll talk a little bit about the reservation system. And basically, the way that we're looking at that is, if you've ever played fantasy sports before, then you're familiar with how a waiver wire works. But essentially, the waiver wire will be for Black Pass holders only. And for every Black Pass membership that you own, think of that like a claim on the waiver wire. So based on mint order, and so whoever mints that first membership will have access to reserve the very first events. You'll be able to submit a claim within a 48-hour period of time after the events have been announced. We'll be announcing those events at least a month in advance too. We know that not everybody's located in every city, and there might be desire for some people to plan travel and things around that. So at least 30 days in advance, we'll announce all of the events that are going to be upcoming. There'll be a 48-hour period of time where you can go in there, submit a claim. Once that claim period is closed, the winners of those will be able to claim those events, and they'll reserve their seats. So if that Black Pass holder just has one Black Pass and that's it, they get to reserve one seat. If they have a Black Pass plus a Silver Pass, that allows them to reserve 2 seats at that event. If they have 2 Black Passes and 2 Silver Passes, then they can reserve up to 4 seats. So it's going to be based on kind of ownership. Number of memberships will be the number of pass seats that you have to reserve at those different events. Once that person has made that reservation, they drop to the bottom of the list, and the next person up gets a chance to go ahead and submit their claims. So, of course, there are going to be multiple events happening across these markets on a daily basis. We expect this list to cycle through rapidly because of that. So while there will be certain events that are in much higher demand, other ones that are a little bit lower demand, we do anticipate that we'll be able to fill those seats more often than not. But I think it is important, coming back to that piece about how many home games there are for basketball, for hockey, for baseball, for NFL, for the concerts that are happening on the off nights. There are going to be events almost every night across almost every city that our holders will have access to. Once an event does pass through that 48-hour period of time, it'll be open on a first-come, first-served basis for others to put that claim in. So in the same way that if your starting running back goes down and you're trying to pick up that cuff, if for whatever reason they were to pass through waiver wires and they get to kind of the free agent market, anybody can put that claim in, and it doesn't impact your position on that waiver wire list. So that's another important piece to keep in mind, is that you won't have to use a waiver wire claim in order to go. It's just a way for people to express the events that they really want to go to give them the best chance at making that happen. So next piece is quantity of NFTs. And I know that this is a big one. There's been a lot of discussion about it. What I want to really emphasize is this is a premier membership, and our overarching goal is to make sure that each and every one of our members has ample opportunity to go to events when they want to. So with that in mind, we're going to be minting 805 total Black Passes and 3,777 Silver Passes. Those passes, like I said, small numbers, but across 7 different markets, with games happening with that much of frequency, there's going to be a lot of opportunity to be able to go to these games. And that's really what we're looking to deliver. So the last factor that goes into this is pricing. And unlike other projects where there's, I think, there can be a little bit of subjectivity around the value or what it is specifically that you're getting right out of the gate, we have hard US dollar costs that are locked into this. So even with Crypto.com Arena, they won't take ETH, unfortunately. We asked them, and they won't take it. So right after mint, what we're planning on doing is transferring the funds to a stable coin or to US dollars, so we can go ahead and lock in multi-year agreements with these venues, so that we'll be delivering on those for years, and we'll have the funds in order to secure those partnerships as well. So with that in mind, and the reason why I'm giving you a range right now is because ETH has been so volatile lately. The range we're looking at for Black Passes will be between 1.95 ETH and 2.5 ETH. Silver Passes will be 0.8 to 1.1 ETH. And again, we feel as though, while that is a premium price point, given the limited quantity and the value for a lot of these events, our holders are going to see a great return on that very quickly. So I want to kind of expand on that a little bit, just a little bit more detail to really, I guess, hit home how we landed on those numbers and just give you a little bit of additional context around it. So when we were doing a lot of that research around secondary market pricing, we reviewed what those numbers looked like across those different marketplaces. Right now, it's basketball season, hockey season. Basketball is really the hot ticket, though. And so what we were looking at are what are those prices? What are those prices for those different games to sit courtside? And across the different marketplaces we were looking in, there was a little bit of range. Pretty much Miami landing in the mid $6,000 per ticket. New York was closer to $7,000 per ticket to sit courtside. When we got to Golden State Warriors, it was about $8,500. Los Angeles was over $10,000 on average per ticket. And the Chicago Bulls were a little bit lower. They were closer to $4,000 a ticket. That being said, when you're thinking about you with a +1, having that collectively for under 3 ETH and having that many opportunities, 41 home games across seven different cities, we felt as though it was a very fair value and that people would be able to see a quick return on that investment. So that's how we got to our price point. I'm going to go ahead and start kind of cruising through some of these questions and hopefully can answer some of those for everybody here. In the meantime, Darian, Manny, if you guys want to go ahead and chime in, please feel free to.
Trevor, first of all, I just want to thank everyone who hopped on the call. It's been really cool meeting everyone and kind of interacting with you guys. It's kind of weird. We do it through Discord, but we're all real people. So just thank you guys for being a part of the community. I think you hit on a lot of stuff. What we're trying to build is real, and transparently, I feel like this project is different from other projects. So you have to look at this project in a different light, but. We're trying to build something for you guys. It's all about the community. It's all about access. And I think with the model we have and some of the ways we're building things and the pricing, I think we're doing that. So just really excited to see where this continues to go.
Yeah, thanks, Manny. And I think one of the questions that I've seen pop up a couple of times is about resale. So before jumping into that, I also want to describe the T3 marketplace, because that ticket marketplace, I think, is going to be a huge value for our silver membership holders. Essentially, what we're going to be doing, in addition to these suites, in addition to the top tier premium seats like courtside and rinkside, is access to a collection or a catalog of great seats. So those are going to be like your lower bowl, your loge seats, ones that a lot of people would ordinarily try to get. Access to those seats at season ticket cost pricing. So that ticket, like I was saying earlier, that might cost a season ticket holder $100 to purchase, but it's available for $350 after fees on Ticketmaster or on StubHub. That'll be available to purchase without any fees, without any sort of markup for all of our holders on that T3 marketplace. For those tickets, think of it like community tickets. You want to purchase it, you can do with it absolutely what you want. If you want to resell that, you're more than welcome to. When it comes to things like suites, we would encourage users who want to attend to be the ones to go. There are also certain rules that different franchises have around how many of the tickets you're allowed to resell. So we really encourage people who are going to those suites to embrace those times to build real kind of community connections. That being said, there isn't a way for us to say, no, you can't sell that seat. So if you hold off on that waiver wire claim all season, so you can go ahead and get that Golden State Warriors courtside seat, and you want to go ahead and flip that thing for 45 grand a ticket, which they do get that expensive, we won't be able to stop you from doing that. And, at that point, get your bag. Congrats. You held off all season. I think, there should be a benefit to that. So while that's not necessarily the ethos of the project, or really what is core to what we're trying to build, there's certainly an arbitrage opportunity, and there's nothing that we'll do to stop our members from taking advantage of that. At least initially, I should say, unless we get in trouble with the venues themselves. But we'll take that as it comes. Darian, is there anything else that you want to add in there?
No, I've been answering questions as they come in here as well. So thank you.
Okay,
Thank you,
awesome. Cool. Anything else? I'm just scrolling through here. If anyone wants to go ahead and request to speak, pop some questions in, feel free right now. Happy to just kind of field whatever else might be coming in.
Why don't we go through, starting at the top of the AMA channel, starting I think probably with Manic's question.
Yeah, happy to. Okay, so I think in terms of pricing, I think that we kind of addressed that. Again, these are premium tickets. They're very expensive, even at face value. They're very expensive. But on the secondary market, what we're really looking at is what's that gap, and how do we make sure that the people that are purchasing our Black membership passes, how do we make sure that they're getting value? So by just going to one game over the course of an entire year, in most cases, you're kind of getting your money's worth. What we're looking at is delivering so much more than that, as you can see from that kind of limited number of passes. So I think that hopefully helps answer the question about pricing. When it comes to working with those direct listing companies like StubHub and Ticketmaster, they do have connections directly with a lot of these venues and franchises. So at first, a lot of the tickets that you're purchasing will be sent to you likely through a Ticketmaster account. That's okay. I, in my past life, worked very closely with some executives at SeatGeek on some of their strategy work. This is completely misaligned with how they're going to market, how they're planning on growing their business. So I think what we have is an opportunity to, if anything, somewhat disrupt that. Now that's not really our goal. That's not our overarching goal. What we're looking to do is deliver value to the community. But we'll certainly utilize those platforms as ways to distribute tickets. But I think when it comes to the benefits that we bring, there's a little bit more to the table. I think it's also important to differentiate from Amex and Chase as well, because I have seen those clubs. I've had access to them before, where I actually, as an American Express holder, was able to get early access to Adele tickets back in 2014 when she was going on tour. I'm not a huge Adele fan. I like her music, but not enough to spend $500 on a ticket. But I was able to purchase those for $65 and sell them on the secondary market. Paid for a trip out to San Francisco for my girlfriend and I at the time. I think that's a real world use case of what you'd be able to do with one of these membership passes, is get early access to some of those events and take advantage of it. Amex and Chase do offer that to some degree, but I think what we're building is a much deeper connection where we have these dedicated account managers that we're on a texting basis with. I've had Becca is our dedicated account rep at crypto.com. She'll text me when they get courtside seats for a Lakers game or a Clippers game, or rinkside for a Kings game. Hey, we've got this game going on tonight or later on this week. Any interest? And those tickets that we're getting texted about, they're not coming in at the secondary market price. They're coming in at that face value. So having those relationships, I think, and being able to pass that on to the community is another real big differentiator between us and some of those credit card companies. I think music is important. I've talked about it kind of high level, but I think it falls into another category as well, which is beyond just the concerts that are hitting these venues. There are certain destination concerts, I think, that are out there. So top of mind, somebody was asking about Ultra in Miami. Of course, Coachella is coming up soon as well. Concerts really all over the place at that scale, more so music festivals. We're kind of grouping those into a category of what we would call really unique events. So that's where we also start to fall into some things like Formula One racing, golf tournaments, the Masters, things like that. We want our members to be at all of those events And what we'll be doing post-mint is leaning a lot on the community to help understand what the sentiment is and what the demand is for those events, so that ultimately we can go ahead, we can work those connections that we have, and we can deliver. So that if it's one of those Black Pass holders, they have access to those kinds of events for free. And if it's a Silver Pass holder, see if we can secure tickets that are at an approachable price point, but where they're getting access to it at that kind of best price and not having to go on the secondary market and deal with all of the markups and the fees. So kind of working my way down the list here, Relic had some great questions, I think, about owning both passes. Again, just to reiterate, if you are a Black Pass member, owning a Silver Pass is your +1. I think that's kind of the biggest point there to understand when it comes to owning both of those tiers of pass. When we're looking at the pre-sale, there are some kind of fluid conversations that we're having right now, so we don't have a hard number on the percent of tickets that are going to be separated. But I think really at the core of our motivation, what we're looking to do is lock in as many of these events as we can for our members. So that's what we're doing right now. And as we have a firm number on that, we'll certainly make an announcement and make sure that everybody understands exactly where we stand from an inventory perspective. Also, great question about that third tier. So that kind of subscription model. One of the ways that we're starting to think about it is almost like in the way that you pay for your Netflix subscription, your HBO Max. Wouldn't it be cool if you had a ticket subscription? So instead of just entertainment from your couch, you also have that kind of entertainment from these live events. So what we'll likely do is over the next 6 to 12 months is understand demand from a geographic perspective, understand demand from a price point perspective. And what we want to make sure that we're doing is just optimizing those things. So if there's an opportunity for us to introduce a third tier of subscription passes that'll help to really address that market, and there's an opportunity to do so without diluting that overarching member experience for our Black and Silver Pass holders, that's certainly something we want to do, because that's how we see a path towards scaling the business and creating something that's very sustainable ongoing. So that kind of subscription model is going to be a really key piece to it. Last piece was about unsupported cities. So outside of those 7, like I said, we're going to have some of those kind of quote destination events. Those are the ones that people would travel for that may not be located in one of our 7 hub launch cities. Initially, we're not going to be doing just one-off events, like a Baylor Texas A&M game or something like that. Can you help us get tickets? I think that what we're really going to focus on doing is ensuring that in those target cities, every event that people want to go to, we're doing our absolute best to make sure that we have people in those seats at the absolute best price. As we start to expand beyond that, and I think this is also where subscription comes into play, there will likely be an opportunity for us to expand into additional cities and have different pricing models that reflect maybe a lower volume, but also deliver some utility to some of those other destinations. Cody, great question. Can tickets be bought and then resold or gifted? Yes, they can. So those tickets that you own or that you get through us, through your NFT membership, they're yours to do with what you'd like. There is not a limit on how many experiences you can have. So if you're in a city and there are not a lot of members there for whatever reason, or if you want to be opportunistic and travel around to a bunch of cities and go to a bunch of different events when there's an opportunity to do so, you absolutely can do that. The way it'll just work is like I kind of walked through with that waiver wire system. Those top events, those are probably going to be fairly competitive to get to, but there are so many events, especially when you start thinking about baseball across some of these different destinations, thinking about hockey and NBA, lots and lots of games. And what we want to make sure is that there's an opportunity for people to go to those. So we're not capping it at all. Our goal at the end of the day, nothing would make us happier than making sure that all of our pass holders have too many games. They get tired. They get tired of going to a box at SoFi Stadium. Maybe their significant other is getting mad at them for going all the time. Maybe they get to go and take that SO out there every weekend to a game and have something really special. So we're not going to cap that. So with the reservation system, say there's 50 holders who want to go to an event, but there's only 30 available seats. Again, this comes back to the waiver wire claim. So if there's only 30, it'll basically be stack ranked. So let's say first person in line has the ability to reserve 2 seats. They can go ahead, they submit that claim, they get their 2 seats. Now there's 28 seats remaining in that 30-person box. Next person up has an opportunity to reserve as many seats as they have passes. So say they have maybe the ability to reserve up to 3 seats. They have 2 black passes and 2 silver passes. They want to reserve, 4 seats. They can go ahead, they can do that. Now we're down to, kind of going down the list that way. So again, it'll just be that waiver wire. So I'll keep going through this list. I'm just reading through it, so kind of apologies for any delay here. Darian and Manny, feel free to chime in on things.
Yeah, I'll jump into the question about a family pack. So we won't have any discounts specifically for family passes. There's really no way for us to identify the way to discount for a family, but you will be able to get 4 tickets, like Trevor said, if you've got 2 blacks and 2 silvers. So there is a way for you to get 4. It will not be discounted to buy 4.
Yep, good call out.
And then the question about leasing, we've had this come up quite a few times, and I think it's been answered, but at this point, we won't have the ability to lease. However, we believe kind of even better than leasing it out is being able, the ability to sell your tickets. It's essentially still leasing it out. There's still a profit to be made there. So I think that question is probably pretty well answered. I don't know if we need to go any further into that.
Yeah. So I think, again, some really good questions. Looks like we've gotten through a lot of those. We'll keep on fielding those as they come in, but wanted to take this time to give you guys, if not a face, at least a voice to the name. So thank you all for popping in here. Really appreciate it. And we're super excited about this. We think that what we're delivering is going to offer a lot of value. And we're very, very excited. It looks like there's one more question for Web 8. How tall are you? Because they probably saw that picture where I promise, guys, I'm pretty average height. I'm just about 6 foot. I'm just about 6 foot. If that gives you any perspective.
Yeah, I'm 6'6", but I'll tell you, next to Bobby Portis, it definitely felt small. Trevor's 5'6". Trevor's not 5'6".
one of my buddies, so I'm like 6'3.5". One of my buddies saw the picture of us and Bobby and said I looked 5'8" next to him. So
Bobby is built different.
Yeah, he's that's a different human being.
Flab, I see.
So,
I don't know if we missed.
Yeah, Flab. I'm scrolling up to try to check that out.
Hey,
Nanic,
Trevor,
yeah.
Really quickly, did you want to touch in on the sustainability piece? I saw a few questions in there, like, okay, if we're giving tickets, they're free, selling at cost, like, that's kind of the sustainability piece. I know we touched on the membership aspect, but do you want to go into a little bit more detail there?
Yeah, happy to. So we're taking a multifaceted approach where we don't want those additional revenue streams to be single-threaded. So one of the ways we're addressing it is through royalties on the secondary market. We want to be totally transparent with that. I think we're in line with where a lot of other projects are, which is at a 7.5% royalty on secondary market transactions. That will help. That'll go right back into the business. So that's all about helping to sustain everything, the operations, the tickets, the inventory. So that will be one line of revenue for the company. In addition, expansion into other cities with annual passes will be a great way for us to generate annual recurring revenue. We anticipate a break-even scenario early in year 2 of this project. So this is not something that's going to take a tremendous amount of time. And through this initial mint, we will have ample time to be able to deliver on all of the features and functionality that will get us to that point. Of being in a position to expand. Something else I think that's worth pointing out. Of course, we want our members to have access to those tickets, but there are going to be so many of them that in some cases they may go unclaimed. Within this isn't a hard kind of commitment yet, but what we've been toying around with is 48 hours out from the event. If an event has gone unclaimed or a ticket has gone unclaimed, listing those on a secondary market and taking any sort of revenue generated from that and pumping it straight back into the business as well. Once that ticket's listed, it'll still be available for claim up until a certain period of time before the event. And if it's sold, we would just make note of that and mark it off as reserved. But that'll be another way where if there is a surplus of inventory, we're capitalizing on it instead of just letting that go to waste. And then I think the last piece, and one of the most interesting pieces, is what we're building is new. What we're building is certainly unique and disruptive in a lot of different ways. And I think what's one of the greatest things about it is that it's fairly easy for folks who are not well acquainted with Web3 or NFTs to understand. It's a membership. You pay to own that membership. With this Genesis launch, it's a lifetime membership, and it's going to put you in seats, some of the best seats in some of the most desired venues across the world. That's very desirable, and feedback we've been getting is that there could be a lot of partnership opportunities with very strategic organizations that are really looking to make their mark on Web3 or looking to be seen as progressive, are looking to reach new audiences. So you can imagine in those spaces that we're working in, that might be franchises, that might be leagues, that might be other platforms in the crypto space that are looking to reach broad audiences and show off the benefits of this world. So we can't go into too much detail on that, but just know that we're having a lot of conversations, and there's been a lot of outbound interest that we've been getting, as well as inbound interest, where people are reaching out to us, asking for meetings, asking to better understand the project and to see if there's ways to collaborate and to generate value. So from a sustainability perspective, we're very bullish on being break even in that second year, and then being in a really, really strong position to expand even further beyond that ongoing.
Yeah, and then one thing I would add to that, Trevor, that was really good, but just to strengthen the point on the break even, that means like if we basically sit on our hands, don't do anything, at that 2.5 year mark, that is when things would cease to exist. So you would get 2.5 full years if we did nothing. We didn't have any partnerships. We didn't resell any tickets on the market and pump it back into the business. If we did nothing, we would have these experiences for that long. So you're getting into a situation where it's like the worst case scenario, which none of us foresee even being possible, is that we have 2 years of this thing running, and then it ceases to exist, which isn't going to happen. But just put that into perspective of how we've set this up.
Yeah, and that is our most conservative model possible as well. So we have others where we've forecasted it out to as much as 5 years. So there is going to be quite a bit of longevity. There's going to be a lot of value, like we said, tons of events, very low number of membership passes. We think that we'll find equilibrium somewhere around probably 1,500 total members as those silver passes are burned and more people are holding those black passes. And then what you have is a sustainable business that is rapidly growing. And one of the perks of being in kind of, one of these cornerstone Genesis drops is that you get access to that for life. No matter how many additional memberships might come later as the pass expands, you guys are going to be absolutely paramount, top of our list in terms of delivering value. So I think that's really important to us, is making sure that no matter what, you guys see value and that we can deliver that to you for long. There's a good question here about do we already have agreements listed with venues? We have already negotiated agreements with every venue that we've shown so far. We have pricing, we have term commitments, we have availability. We have also locked in multi-year agreements already with some venues that we'll be announcing a little bit later this week. We're super excited about it. I think I give you guys the first one, but we have a multi-year agreement with the Barclays Center. So some of you may have seen some of those views from the seats right there, right on the court, right next to the tunnel where the players come out. some pretty great seats, and we have those already on a multi-year agreement. So, like we said, this isn't a flash in the pan. We're around for the long haul. This is our passion, and we're really excited to deliver for you guys.
I'll jump in on Jack's question. How often would you say pass holders see value who aren't in one of the 7 markets? You'll know essentially 28 to 30 days out from any event if you've got that ticket. So you can have access as often as anyone who's in those cities. It's just if you're able to travel to those cities. So outside of selling it, you got equal access to get the tickets. It's just whether you were ready to travel for that event or not.
I think it's also how you define value. I think for people outside of the marketplace, we've had this question a lot. And a light bulb moment it'd be great, whatever your home team is, you'll be able to go and travel probably and see those at some of these great venues. But if you define value as the opportunity to take advantage of any arbitrage in ticketing pricing, those opportunities will likely present themselves as well. So it's important to us that we enable all of that. We really want to take care of you guys. So looks like there's some more typing in here. We'll let you guys keep on firing off some questions. These have been really great so far.
Yeah, so just to reiterate the Black Pass and the Silver Pass. The Silver Pass, the Black Pass gets you the reservation for the free tickets, but you also get access to the marketplace that only the Silver Pass gets access to. So the Black Pass is all encompassing.
And Jack, just to clarify on your question about how often tickets would be available in a city that are not a part of the 7, so some of those kind of like a la carte one-off events, we don't have a firm number on it. A lot of it's going to be based on community sentiment. So if there's a ton of golfers in here, I know that we've had some conversations with Links Now so far, so I wouldn't be shocked if there were. We'll be leaning on the community to vote on some things like that. So we want to make sure that we're filling that demand wherever there is any.
And Eagles, there's no fine print on the lifetime membership. The reason we wanted to do lifetime membership is we wanted to make sure that we have the best access for the people who were in this early. So to answer your question, no fine print. It's a lifetime membership.
Yeah. And I think one other piece that's important to address. So we've had kind of a crazy amount of demand. So we do not anticipate there being a scenario where we don't sell out. We've already had a lot of conversations and questions about how can we expand on this. It's funny that we get those two because at first we were thinking about going broader, but what we decided was to rein it in and really make sure that we can execute and execute at a very high level on these first 7 cities. In some crazy scenario where we don't sell out, what we'll look to do, our primary goal will be to make sure that all of those people who purchase passes will see value out of them and see value as quickly as possible. So again, that's not something that we anticipate doing, but in an unlikely scenario, we'll just be taking care of those members and making sure that they feel like they got their money's worth. We also have not yet set limits preset with our Black Passes. We're talking with our dev team based on the smart contract that we're working on, kind of what their recommendations are. We also want to make it equitable. So we'll have more details to come on specific limits around passes per wallet. Lab, apologies. I haven't seen, I'm going to keep scrolling up and try to get to your question. If you wouldn't mind just linking to it on a comment, I can go ahead and try to address that.
I think he was talking about like what does the expansion of new cities look like? I think we addressed it.
Yeah,
a couple of times, but yeah.
For non-US, so for the EU holders looking to buy ticket for duty. So we are in the same way that we're looking at addressing new markets as we see holders in the US, we're doing that globally too. So we're planting a flag in the UK. We have a very, very well-known stadium there that we have negotiated pricing with that we'll likely be able to announce here in the next couple of days on a multi-year agreement that it'll be a draw for not just folks in London, but they have international performances. They have some of the top artists, boxing matches, a lot of very highly sought after events. So the UK right now is kind of our starting point. That said, there's no question we're going to be looking at expansion further into other EU countries. We know that football's huge, rugby, even thinking about cricket and some of these other areas. We want to make sure, and again, this is where leaning on the community will be big for us, making sure that we are able to put our members in seats and really making sure that we can take care of all you got. Hopefully that answered your question there. You can just keep on scrolling down through this.
I think Cross, to answer your question about helping, I mean, any type of, we don't want to be a shilling community. That's not what this is about. That's not the project. But, any time of, being on Twitter, talking about the project and not doing it in a way that's not authentic is going to be key, and that helps out the project. We want as many sports fans as possible to be able to have access to stuff that in the past hasn't been able to be attained. So that's the whole ethos of this project. So, any way to get it to people, I think that that's really helpful from a project standpoint.
Yeah. Okay, great. And again, I think, Cross Cowboy, like Manny said, we're open to inbound interest. We're happy to take phone calls where there might be some sort of benefit for the community. Those are definitely partnerships that we're willing to explore. So if there are connections that people have, it's incredible how small of a world this is and how well connected the folks are in this space. So if people see potential synergies, please, feel free to maybe we would just create a partnerships channel where we can go ahead and throw any kind of chat about that in there. But we are all ears for sure. So let's go ahead and I think it's been about 45 minutes. Looks like we have a couple more people just typing questions. We can field questions for maybe 5 more minutes on this. But if nothing else, I just want to thank everybody again for joining, for engaging with us. We couldn't be more excited. The feedback we've gotten, not just from the NFT community, but also from these venues, has been crazy. Those folks from Crypto.com have mentioned hopping into the Discord, and they're asking about mint price and quantity and all that stuff. So we're getting on the right people's radar, and I think it's going to open a lot of doors. And we're all excited that all of you get to come on that journey with us in I think doing something really special in the space. Morlag, great question on the DAO approach. We explored that for starters. What we're looking to build before anything else is a sustainable business. There are a lot of other companies, or I should say DAOs out there, but when it actually gets into the weeds and the nitty gritty of how do you govern a DAO legally, literally, where does it incorporate and how is that legal entity governed by US standards, it's very murky. So the last thing that we wanted to do was, us not fully understand all the ramifications of starting a DAO, launch one, make some sort of mistake, or have some sort of oversight, or have some sort of law change, and then that really kind of screw over our members. So we went with the direction that we're familiar with. We've started companies before. We've worked in small companies and large companies. This is a governance structure that we're familiar with. And it's one that we felt confident that we could deliver the most value with. So not to say down the road there isn't an opportunity for us to evolve or to spin off other community-owned assets like a DAO. But right now, our core focus is going to be just on generating or creating a cash flow positive business that really generates value for all of our initial members through this membership and access to really all of these top tier events. Great question, though. So Jack's question about where do we recommend us going if we wanted to get involved? I'm hoping you could clarify on that a little bit. I think from where we're at right now in terms of the project, the best way for us to deliver is to make sure that we sell through all the mint passes. So, if it's just forwarding along the message, telling people that you're, having conversations in this Discord it's not spammy, they're authentic. If there's genuine interest in the project, just kind of spreading the word about that. I think that would be huge. It's kind of an approach I think that you've seen us take from day one, right? So it's not like we're out here buying 10,000 followers. Our Discord doesn't have, 100,000 people in it. And that's intentional because this is supposed to be about the community. This is supposed to be about building genuine connections and about building something that's not just hype. So we're looking to build something that has longevity and delivers value to our holders ongoing.
Yeah, I'll also add that we have intentionally kept the whitelist or early access list small until we release pricing. We wanted to make sure everyone knew the price before they were getting on the list because it's important that obviously you've got high conversion buyers and people ready to spend that amount because we know it is a higher mint price than a lot of other projects that are out there. We think that it warrants the price, but that's why we've held off on building that list further. But over the next really 2 weeks, we'll start to have more early access list spots given out.
Cross Cowboy, I think what we'll do is we'll put together a channel maybe where we can at least kind of float some of those ideas and then follow up with those directly. So let's go ahead. I think 4:50 Central, 5:50 Eastern. Thank you again, everybody, for hopping on. I think we'll go ahead and call this one a wrap for now. Feel free to keep adding questions in the AMA. The three of us are happy to field those questions. But just want to thank everybody for hopping on and joining us in our first AMA here. So we'll talk all soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.